the intention for this meeting, or this series of meetings, is going to be an open forum for all of you that are on, and we've got great representation here. I'll show you the list of the organizations that we work with and that are joining this call today. To really collaborate, and I really encourage you to participate. This is for you to talk amongst yourselves and ask questions, and you can feel free to talk about all of your successes, any challenges. This is an open forum. There's not anybody who's going to look down on you. So if you're having challenges, it's perfectly appropriate to bring those up. Talking about ideas and all of this pertaining to your usage of HR Help Desk. And also, if you want to open it up a little bit more than that, if it's beyond HR Help Desk around your call metrics or things like that, these are all open for discussion. It's really an open forum for us to talk. So please do participate. So, to kick this off, I wanted to maybe do a round robin and do some introductions so that we all can understand backgrounds and roles, responsibilities as it pertains to your organization. And we'll talk about some reports that the topic for this discussion is really around reporting and analytics. So I'll talk about some reports that we see, because we get a lot of exposure to your organizations and other organizations that may not have been able to attend today. And so we'll kind of talk about some of those reports that we see, and then we'll start talking about your report. That we really encourage you to bring forth what you have experience with from a reporting standpoint, and then I'll do a quick demo of the HR Help Desk 9.2 dashboards and some of the features, functions in the latest versions. Understanding that not all of you are on the latest version, but just kind of showing you what the capabilities of the application can be. Then we'll have some time for Q&A, and we'll talk about maybe the next topic. We'll plan on doing these user community sessions quarterly, so hopefully we can have good content for you ready to go and something that would be of interest to the group. Okay, so let's start talking about reporting. When we start talking about reporting, there's HR Help Desk. I think many of you likely know. You can pull a lot of information from there and look at information stored in a lot of different ways. And I kind of broke this down into about 4 categories of reports that we typically see as we work in implementation. So starting, the kind of the basic one here is managing open work. And what I mean by that is this is kind of operational report. So what are we doing? What do we have to work on? What's our queue of work that we have to complete? So thinking about in a situation of cases, open cases assigned to by the agents or the group. So what does each person have? If I'm a manager, what does each person have assigned to them? What does each group that I manage over? What does that look like from a group perspective? Maybe if you're thinking in terms of the overall owner of your HR organization, they're going to want to see metrics from all of the groups. How many calls are we getting holistically? So you can look at it from a very micro perspective on an individual agent, how they're doing, all the way up to the macro of the entire call center, all the groups that are using the application. So, of course, with managing open work, you're thinking in terms of cases, and if you're leveraging tasks, what tasks do I have to complete? What emails are currently open? What chats do I currently have in queue? Chat's a little bit more real time for those that use chat. It's something that the chats come in, and if you don't answer it, then they're gone. It's not like a case that you can follow up on. So that's more of a real time using managing open work with the supervisor desktop. You look at things like for managing open work, time open. So average time cases are open. From a prioritization standpoint, you look at potentially working the oldest first if those are if you're managing against SLA. Cases approaching SLA are definitely an important metric when you're working on your open book of cases, again, helping with prioritization. And then I plugged in their announcements. So there's a feature that you can use for managing announcements within your HR organization. Things that have come up to notify your HR staff on things that the issue that they might be getting lots of reports on. That's kind of organizationally working within the call center, keeping track of what's on the docket. And then we have, like performance-related. These are types of reports that, again, cases worked by group or agent, but how are they doing? How long is it taking these groups or agents to resolve their issues? This is really intended to be, to help drive service levels and determine averages. So how long does it take to close an address update in your system? Or what's the average time, the number of cases that we've gotten about these certain issues? And how are we doing from not necessarily your organization, but also the types of issues that are coming in? How long does it take us to resolve certain types of cases by CTD or by channel? Maybe it's taking a little bit longer on phone calls than it is with the email. So all that information is valuable for helping you manage your business and align resources. Do anybody have any comments on these two and maybe how it's applicable to your organization? Around, maybe some specifics around managing your work. How do you run reports today and manage your organization and your operations?
Next, I know for us, we're interested in using the dashboards. A lot of my business partners are very eager to get it started. One of the challenges we had was with the specific groups. We have a lot of different groups under one business unit, so that was one of the challenges that we faced. One group doesn't necessarily want the other group to see their reports or their dashboards.
Sure. Yeah, so dashboards are great because you can apply security. So if someone's in a certain group, you can expose those dashboards to be group specific or user specific. I'll show you a little bit of that today. I don't have that fully built out, but know that that's the capability of those dashboards. I'll get into the demo in probably about 10 minutes or so.
Great. And the performance against service levels, do you actually have to have the SLAs, the delivered functionality, set up in the system?
Oh, great question. No, you don't. So you can keep service levels fairly basic if you like. It's really kind of dependent on how your organization views service levels. Some organizations are just, hey, we want to maintain our service level from open to close. And, how long is it taking us to resolve this? So we have a service level that we need to close within 2 business days, and so you can run reports on what your average open to close time is, and correlate that to your category type detail or your group or your priority. Sometimes priority is tied into those service levels too. But the system does have fairly robust capabilities around setting up service levels for like response time. How long do we have to restore that? And the time to close it. It can send out notifications upon certain situations that it's approaching the service level. It can send out notifications to the assigned to it, things like that. So the SLA can be as simple as just measuring open and close time, and a lot of times that's actually sufficient for organizations we've worked with.
Perfect.
Yep. Any other comments before we move on? Okay. So the other kinds of reports that we see are obviously the trending and analytical portion of the application. So what's happened over the tenure of your usage of the application? What are volumes? How we volumes compared to years past? This is where after you use the application for 6 months or a year, you can start seeing some of those trends. Obviously, after a year, you can start seeing year-to-year type of trending with the information. So, what are the peaks and valleys in your support? And that information is really helpful and useful to be able to help staff appropriately. I think I hope that a lot of you leverage that capability because it's an important ROI for this application to be able to do something like that. So, seeing again how many cases were assigned, what kinds of cases were being received at between certain time frames, where there's peaks and valleys based on certain channels. And then you can also look at hey, what's going on with our employee population? Let's correlate this to drive some analytics to see where are our issues coming from? Are they coming from more from certain departments? And then you can leverage that information to say, hey, department, what's going on here? Why are we having so many grievances or disputes from your area? I think you've got some problem. We need to do some change management here. We need to do some education on workforce behavior. Just using an employee relations example there. Maybe it's from a certain business unit or certain area. So you can again, correlate your case information with the employee demographics that you have in the system. I always refer back users in their associate Office of Associate Relations group. They did trending on what kinds of issues were their employees submitting, and they broke it down by millennials versus baby boomers, and they figured out that age. They put in that age demographic, and they're able to see, like, for example, they're able to see that millennials were having a lot more attendance issues than the baby boomers. Baby boomers were really not even an issue from that standpoint. And so they use that information to try and understand and provide better training, better maybe some adjust that in your Office of Associate Relations and what they're using that information for.
Yeah, we do it. Again, it's a lot of evaluations, as you mentioned. It's looking at working with the rest of our HR business partners to really start identifying, are there trends, are there opportunities, not only looking at the differentiation by age group, millennials versus the baby boomers, but then also trying to identify it and align it also by location. Is it one of our major call centers? Well, and trying to then really drive in and implement process improvement opportunities where we may be able to work with that particular group of the population to, reduce, get to the root cause of what is actually causing this trend. So I completely agree with you. Our associate relations team has really done a phenomenal job with, using the reporting that they are pulling from their help desk cases to then be able to apply it to the associate population to find process improvement opportunities.
Sure. Great. And then kind of the final category for reports that we've seen is really more around the administrative. So what I mean by that is probably the most important one in there is the knowledge-based administration. Seeing what solutions have been used, how they've been used, what types of issues what kind of cases are being related to the content, so that you can see how effective the knowledge base is. And it's a really important piece to managing the knowledge base, is having good reports built around that. And then also around the usage of configuration to make sure that what you have in there is being used. If not, it's time to get rid of it, because it's helping to clean up the CTD values is a common one that we see. And then you have other areas like compliance related, so making sure people are logging in and spending time on cases, checking out integrations to make sure that information is being synced up and up to date. And then also QA related reporting. Reports that are run by sometimes your quality assurance organizations to make sure that your associates, your HR reps are answering questions consistently and correctly. So we can kind of group those into the administrative bucket. Any thoughts or comments on these? I'm going to ask a few other questions here in a minute, but just general thoughts on this from the group. All right, keep moving on in. I'm going to actually come back to this one. I have a couple of questions for the group, but I think many of you want to see the demo, so I'm going to switch over to that and get back going here, so you can kind of see what it looks like. I wanted to show you HR Help Desk 9.2, some of the homepage dashboards and some of the capabilities that you have there on page lists and pivot grids. Understanding that some of you are on like version 9.1. This is going to look a little bit different, but a lot of there's opportunity here for you, even in version 9.1, to leverage some of these features of the application. If I was only wanting this quick link section on the left-hand side here to be accessible by our employee relations group, as an example, I can tag this page here with the security such that only that group or only people within that with the security role can have visibility into this. Okay, so you have some security that can be built in. When you're looking at this from a kind of a higher level, you have different dashboards that you can create. An agent dashboard. So this is one here that's specific to an agent. When you think of an agent, this is someone who's going to be working cases, so they want to see what do I have to work on, what kind of information do I need to have as an agent. And so generally speaking, we have links that would take them to common places in the app that they would want to use. This Agent My Cases, I'm sure many of you use this. We've actually added some values here to help expose information a little bit easier. So out of the box, there's all my open cases, unassigned cases in my group. But then we added some others, cases I created in the last 7 or 30 days. Cases that work. This is a really good one here. I like this one a lot, where this shows you all of the cases that I touched, that I made some updates to. The out-of-the-box application doesn't have this, so we can add this through configuration in a small amount of code. If this is something that interests you, we can actually provide you that code just as a courtesy, because we're such a good implementation partner. Shameless plug there. So we can add these additional options here, and what that does, it helps you get information at your fingertips a little bit quicker here. Again, so I don't have to go to the case search; it's all on my homepage. That sort of thing. We got an announcement. So again, this is an agent interface here that we can get set up. Then you have it from another perspective. Let's look at it from a manager perspective. When I think of manager, this is someone that's more, I want to know what my group is working on. How many cases do I have? Do the people in my group have assigned to them? Maybe what the status is. And one of the more exciting pieces of the latest tools versions are these pivot grids. This is a really neat opportunity, so you can put these on this dashboard. You can have pivot grids here that let you switch from line graphs, bar graphs. I guess let me expand this out. And you can drag and drop. So maybe I want to see what kind of status by provider group. I can drag and drop this in here, and it breaks this down by the group and what their status is. So if I need to get pretty granular here, if I want to see all of the different statuses for accounts payable or for my benefits group or my payroll administration, I can have this described that way. Either columns or in the rows here. So if I want to see all the statuses, here's a breakdown of all my statuses by all of the different groups. So I've got a whole lot of them in an open status, 120. I need to start working on my closure. If I want to look at this from a different perspective, a pie chart, I can switch this up here. I guess these are on. It's kind of out here. So you can see breakdown. This is a little bit better. So breakdown by employee relations, by the employee relations group. So this is, it's kind of it's very much like Excel and pivot grids. You have that ability to have this right on your homepage. So this is all. We didn't do any customization for this. This is a simple query. It's actually done pretty quickly. That's why you don't see the scripted values here. But I want to just prove the point here that this is something that can be done through a simple PS query. I get the information that I want, case type, category type, detail, source, specialty type, maybe an employee or assigned to here, and this can be done through query. And then this is exposed to the overall pagelet, the overall homepage pagelet via the pagelet wizard. So you can do all of this that you're seeing here is done through configuration. We didn't do any customization on this. Any questions about these? This is a very quick kind of rundown on this, but any questions on the dashboards and how to leverage them, or any ideas on how your organization might leverage these?
Keegan, is some of this functionality available in 9.1? Like the pivot charts, I don't think are, but is some of it still available for those of us that are still on 9.1?
Yeah, so actually, this is called a navigation collection. This is available in 9.1. This is just a nice quick link. This is basically a list of quick links here. So this is available in 9.1. This announcement pagelet here, any pagelet, this pagelet, this My Open Task pagelet, this is all available to you in 9.1. You build a query and then you use the pagelet wizard to publish it to your portal.
And that Are the charts all available in 9.1 as well?
So some of the charts are, yes, and with 9.1 you have to be on a certain bundle. I think I want to say that it's 11, but don't quote me on that. And then you also so you can have these charts once you get up to that certain bundle, because Oracle introduced them about midway through. And then you also have to be on a PeopleSoft level. I think it's 843 something that you have to be on to be able to use the pivot grid. So these are available in 9.1.
We just deployed these graphs, and just to call us out, we're about 13 bundles and 13 patches behind. So we are on 9.1, but we aren't completely. So to Keegan's point, probably just double check but know that you can do these graphs out there. That was a huge plus for me. Another huge plus for me was all of those filters that Keegan showed with the agent. My cases, I was hearing a bunch of complaints from my CSRs that, I can only see my open cases, but what about the cases that I may have created and forwarded on to somebody else, and now I'm getting a question on that. So those other filters were a huge win for us also.
So here's a very basic page. This is for our announcement. There's an underlying PS query underneath this. It's looking out for cases that are marked as global cases. We're calling them announcement. And so we built that query with that criteria, and we related it to this paglet, and we just walked through this wizard interface here to generate that. And at the very end of this, it lets you specify what kind of security you have. You can break this down by public, or you can actually have it down to a specific permission list, so that if you have a group that's linked, or you can actually have this to a role. So if I wanted to relate this to maybe only your tier 1 group, or maybe someone from your, maybe a certain location, you could have this such that to relate it to a role. And then to get it on that home page, there's a secondary step that just you set up the homepage configuration, and I can walk you through that offline if you wanted to. But it's the message here for everybody on the phone is that the system can have all of this information exposed to you on this homepage without having to dig in. I don't have to run a report. These, like I said, as Steve was mentioning, these drop-down values are so critical because you can find so much information right from this homepage without having to click around, and that's a really good thing to help improve user experience within the application itself. Any other questions or comments on these? Do you want to see anything else? Obviously, the sky's the limit with this kind of stuff. If you can come up with a query, you can publish it to the homepage. So, what other kind of uses or information would you like to see on a homepage like this?
I have a question about the pagelets.
Yeah.
I know that they update in real time. Have there been a significant change in the way that the system responds? Has it slowed down? Do we need extra memory? Is there something that actually, because it's constantly updating and refreshing in the background, does that cause issues?
So these pages don't refresh real time. I can refresh them if I want, but anytime I hit this home link here, it refreshes all of these. So in terms of, I think, that's a great call out there. That in terms of performance, you want to make sure that the queries that you're creating aren't crazy. You want to make sure that they're limited. And when you're thinking in terms of an agent here, it's going to be pretty specific. Like what are the cases that I currently have assigned to me, or what are the tasks that I have currently assigned to me? So generally, those perform pretty well. I would suggest that when you're looking at creating these, especially if you have millions of cases in the system, like you do at Nationwide, at City, some of the higher volume health group, you want to make sure that they perform well. If there's some performance issue, you probably want to have a DBA take a look at those and just do some general tuning on them. But in terms of the agent, generally speaking, you don't have any performance issues. when you get into like a manager standpoint, you know, it's rolling up a little bit more information. You want to be kind of careful with that as well, that you're putting, you know, good date wrappers around it so that they're not doing like, you know, creating an entire database with the, you know, maybe the last 7 or 30 days worth of information and combining that into the summary version that you're seeing here. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You got it. Any other questions? I have about 8 minutes left of our time here, and a couple questions here. I want to open this up back to you, and just you know, kind of let me hear about some of your analytics that you're running today, and maybe some of your, you know, what are you using? What kind of information are you putting in? And are you pulling out? And what information is critical for managing your business? Someone want to chime in and talk about their reporting? But operational, analytical, you know, any of these kind of types that you're running today?
We're not using any of these analytics yet. Everything that we're doing at this point, since we just upgraded to 9.2, we're basically running queries on an ongoing basis. But this is very, very interesting to me to see that we have the capability to get these configured so that we can do it much quicker, and I would have the information at my fingertips.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're just running general queries today to see, you know, what your open book of work is. Do you do any trending or analytics, you know, kind of over time? Because you've had this implemented now for like 5-6 years, I think it is. Remember right?
I think about 4 years.
4 years, okay, 4 years.
Yeah, no, we're just running reports, and I do my own analysis. Longhand.
How about some other, what are you doing from a reporting standpoint?
We actually doing a lot, both, you know, analytical and also day-to-day. What we do, though, is we have a different database. We only just basically have an extract down to, we're using DB2 and we're extracting it down to Oracle. Then we have a separate reporting environment for that.
Okay. I think there's, you know, there's others that do that as well. Who else on the phone uses a separate database or reporting tool like Hyperion or OBIE for your reports?
Yeah, we use OBIE as well for our reporting, and primarily, you know, we're you know, looking at analytics or metrics, time to close, time to first note, service level percentages, survey scores, things like that. And operationally, we our groups tend to, you know, they're managed on a provider group by provider group basis, and so those folks are mainly, you know, using the case search string or the provider or the group work list to kind of manage their daily case workload. But I think these dashboards present an opportunity for that operational type work. That look really slick.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those operational dashboards that I was showing you, they're not really intended to be an analytical tool. You can do that to a certain degree, but, you know, thinking that, you know, these queries have to kind of run on the fly, you want to really try and limit those to be, you know, more operational. You know, what's currently open, you know, maybe trending over the last week type of thing, but you don't want to, you know, have. Typically don't want to use it for, you know, year-to-year type of analytical reports. That should be done, you know, on a off real-time basis. So general good practice.
So does anybody bring extra data in from other sources to inform this type of reporting? Or, you know, region information, hierarchy information. Is that like just we'll pull the data out and do that reporting elsewhere, or is that ever done inside the help desk tool?
Well, so it kind of depends on what reporting capabilities you have. For example, we built a flattened table that had a big employee hierarchy that they needed for reporting, and they wanted to run the reports on the help desk because they weren't connected to OBIE yet. And so we synced over this kind of flattened employee record because they needed to run it based on region, based on I forget all the different fields, but they used employee attributes to run some of their reports. The regulatory region, I think, was. So they just synced over on a nightly basis that flattened information, and they could leverage it for reporting. That was a pretty simplistic way to do it.
In terms of best practice, you would pull the data out and do it in another platform.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that that's the best practice. I think it's based on whatever's appropriate for your organization. If it's thinking it over and running it into help desk is something that's good for you, I think that would be perfectly good. But the HR help desk from a reporting standpoint is it's not an analytical tool like Hyperion or OBIE. So if you have those tools at your disposal, I would suggest trying to leverage those to consolidate and combine that information because they're stronger at it. That's what they're made for. So we've got just a couple minutes. I'm happy to keep the discussion going, but I wanted to take a minute to talk about what we want to cover for the next topic. We can continue this one if you find it very interesting. I'm happy to schedule a follow-up call on this topic if we wanted to get into more examples and more discussion points. But some of the suggestions we received in the registration we had were, looking at what's new in 9.2, talking about some of the new features, functions, because there are some differences. We had the participant ask about how can we better use or how do we start leveraging employee self-service, and maybe talking about the different components of self-service. That's also changed in 9.2. And then leveraging the knowledge base is another topic. So these are kind of ideas, knowledge base, and then supporting additional channels like chat, ERMS, CTI, or telephony integration. Those all sound appropriate. Are there others that you, anybody on the phone would be interested in discussing?
I have a question regarding capability, or if this is maybe even part of HRHD capability. Customer service surveys. Is the capability within HRHD available so that employee type interaction or customer interactions then receive a customer service survey?
Sure. Yes, it is, and it's not part of HR help desk per se. It's integrated in there. It's an application called Workforce Communication. It's a separate license with Oracle. You're using it for basic case.
We do. We send out a survey every time a case is closed to the employee for them to complete. It's I think like five questions, and provides an opportunity for them to do comments as well. So we're probably using it on a fairly simple basis, but it's fairly reliable. I'd say when we've kind of looked at expanding the functionality, to kind of make some dynamic questions or something like that, based off the answer of the first question, maybe, take them down a different path. It's probably not as robust as we'd like, but I think for simple surveys, and it's worked pretty well for us, and so far.
You're using Workforce Communicator now? Are you only using the surveys with that, or are you using it to build any of your pagelets for your self-service or anything?
No, we only use it for surveys right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thanks everybody for joining today. I think this was really good. Thanks for your participation and your comments. I think it's a very, like I said, it's a very valuable thing to get all of you connected. I think we're going to target having the next user community session sometime in the February timeframe. Get past the holidays and regroup. So be looking for an invite from us. And if you have any other follow-up questions, I'm happy to help you with that. You can send me information if you want to get connected with some of the other participants. And based on what you heard in their introduction, I'm happy to make that connection happen.